Good afternoon, everybody. David Shuster here on Take Action News. Welcome to our show. A special welcome to everybody who's listening to us in our syndicated cities of Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, Grand Rapids, Michigan, parts of Oklahoma, and literally around the world on weactradio.com, takeactionnews.com. We also want to thank all of you who are watching us live or watching a tape replay on our YouTube channel, Take Action News TV. Go to YouTube, search Take Action News TV. This is the show where we like to tell you what's going on in the world and what you can do to influence outcomes. And one of the big domestic fights now in Washington involves something known as the sequester. About a year and a half ago, when President Obama and the Republicans in Congress were stuck over budget negotiations and trying to figure out how to reduce the deficit, they agreed that there should be automatic cuts by March of 2013, so dastardly, so sharp to the programs that both sides like, that of course Congress and administration would come up with some sort of alternative. Well, the fact of the matter is, they have not. And here we are just about 3 weeks away from when the sequester cuts will take effect. And these are sharp, drastic cuts to the Pentagon, sharp cuts to education, to social programs, the kind of spending that the parties cannot stand. And the president this week, the president said, okay, given that we cannot come up with a long-term budget that would take the sequester off the table, let's come up with something short-term. Here's what the president had to say about passing a short-term delay to the sequester.
This is already working towards a budget that would permanently replace the sequester. At the very least, we should give them the chance to come up with this budget instead of making indiscriminate cuts now that will cost us jobs and significantly slow down our recovery.
And the president said it would simply be ridiculous if just because Congress can't meet a particular deadline that it would throw the entire economy into the ditch. Here he is again.
There is no reason that the jobs of thousands of Americans who work in national security or education or clean energy, not to mention the growth of the entire economy, should be put in jeopardy just because folks in Washington couldn't come together to eliminate a few special interest tax loopholes or government programs that we agree need some reform.
Now, to be fair, it's not as simple and easy as just a few special interest tax loopholes or some programs that need some reform. It's not quite that simple. If it was, we would not be in this mess. But the fact of the matter is that Congress and the Obama administration, they are stuck in terms of this large-term budget deal. And so what will happen, for example, at the Pentagon will face some incredibly drastic cuts. And just a few weeks ago, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, he described what would happen if, in fact, the sequestration went through. Here's the impact he said would be felt on our military.
Operations, maintenance, and training will be gutted. We'll ground aircraft, return ships to port, and sharply curtail training across the force. As the Secretary mentioned, we may be forced to furlough civilians at the expense of maintenance and even health care. We'll be unable to reset the force following a decade of war. Our readiness will begin to erode. Within months, we'll be less prepared. Within a year, we'll be unprepared.
The headline from Martin Dempsey, and it's been echoed by Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, is that operations, maintenance, and training will be gutted. Will be gutted if, in fact, the sequester goes through. While the Republicans on Capitol Hill, they say this is all the Democrats' fault. Here's House Republican Speaker John Boehner.
To replace the president's sequester, we need our Democrat colleagues to get serious about spending. I wish I could give the American people more cause for optimism, but we see the president's budget is late, and the Senate hasn't passed a budget in nearly 4 years.
Because the Democrats and the president are late in their budget. Somehow that is their fault. Therefore, the sequester is all the Democrats' fault. Well, it's not as simple on the Republican side either. The fact of the matter is that the president and the Democrats and the Republicans have had difficulties with budgets because they cannot agree. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of whether they can agree, whether they can get something written or not, if in fact they don't put this down, they don't come up with an overall budget deal in just 3 weeks, these automatic cuts will start to take effect. And by all accounts, according to economists, that would send the economy back into the ditch, because when you take government spending out of the economy to the degree that the sequester would, that will cause some economic problems. So the solution is to pass a short-term deal, as the president suggests, And the president is again suggesting, look, let's just put something short term that will last a couple of months, that will give us some more breathing room in order to pass an overall budget deal. Republicans say, no, if we're going to be serious about cutting back spending, let's be serious right now. That is the dilemma that Congress is facing. There's a certain amount of brinksmanship, both sides doing the political calculation as to who will get blamed if, in fact, the economy heads back into a ditch because of all this money that gets taken out of the economy.